You like being pampered, doing things that...
Of course. I've loved that.
Are you living the soft life, or are you walking into a financial trap? We see it all over social media: luxury, comfort, high-end consumption. We call it self-care. The bank calls it insolvency. In this episode, I'm challenging the narrative, sharing my personal financial diet protocol, a strict 90-day fast where I spend zero disposable income. I realized I was using shopping as an emotional escape, and so I stopped. We're debating the real cost of comfort and asking the hard question: is your need for retail therapy actually keeping you from building ownership? If you're tired of pretending and ready to lock in for 2026, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Here's the hard truth.
What it is that you do at the beginning of every year. What do you do?
Yes, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. Actually, probably longer. I go on a financial diet. You know that I have this relationship with money that my biggest fear since I was a child is living in a cardboard box. And so I am very, very careful about decisions that I make financially. So I go on a financial diet for the first 3 months of the year, which means that I don't purchase anything. So all that disposable income that we've been talking about over the last couple of episodes, it goes into my savings. And I use that for a few reasons. First, I don't like to be dependent on external things, whether that's alcohol, men, anything, money, and whatever.
Men, it speaks
because you can use that. You can use any of the things that are outside of yourself as a way to not, be internal and be purposeful. I do that for a spiritual way. I just don't spend any money for the first 3 months. I'm going to put a caveat in that because there are some things that I do that are not great, but I will keep that. And one reason is not to be dependent on external things. Number two is to just kind of look and see what have I been buying over the other, 9 months? Because I do like makeup. I do like being a girl. And then the other thing.
Hold on. You like what is called the soft life. You like being pampered, doing things that...
Of course. I love that. And then the third reason why I do it is because of those unforeseen costs that always come up through the year. And so like we were just talking about, me losing a job. And so by building up that foundation in my savings account for the first 3 months, then I know that if something comes up, I'm okay, I'm good. But what I do that's horrible, and I know this, is that I will sometimes spend the last quarter of the year just accumulating things like a squirrel. And then during January, February, and March, when I'm just going through oh my God, I can't buy anything, I go into my closet and I'm like, oh my God, look at this with the tags on. Oh yay, I got new stuff. So that is horrible. But this is something that I've done for at least 20 years.
So you are a trendsetter in that aspect. I'm going to give you your flowers here because you just hit on two key things that are going on right now in the culture. When I think of you, I don't think of trendsetting.
Did you see this outfit that I have on?
As PETA is going to be coming for you at any particular point.
I don't eat meat, but I can wear those animals. They're so warm.
So we talk about the soft life, meaning enjoying the life that you have, going out, buying whatever you want, enjoying every aspect of the material aspects, the travel, the events and things of that sort. On the flip side, we have this movement now called being locked in or locking in, where you have Gen Z, they're saying we're not going to spend one dime at this store. We're not going to go out eating. We're not going to go out shopping. We're just going to be at home and we're going to save all our money and we're not going to be dependent or provide resources to your capitalist system. You have sort of done both with respect to having that soft life, and now you're getting ready to go into your locking in phase. So I find that interesting.
I'd say a couple of things. I enjoy experiences, and I don't enjoy having an experience that is less than I could have. For example, I'm going to say this, and I know it's going to sound horrible, but when you sit in the orchestra section of a live performance, it's real hard, super hard to get up into like the balcony. I don't want to be up there. I want to be in the orchestra. And I feel that if I can provide that experience for myself or for somebody else that's accompanying me, that's what I want to do. I'm very purposeful in how I spend money, and I will look at things, and you know this about me, that I'll have disposable income. Let's just say $1,000 of disposable income after every paycheck, right? After I put into savings, 401k, paid my bills, I got $1,000. I will do this. If I want something that costs $1,500, then I say, okay, well then next month I only have $500. And so I make those sacrifices so that I can enjoy the experiences. I guess you can call it a soft life. I just enjoy an experience that's the full experience. If I'm flying somewhere and I'm going to do something, and say I'm going to New York, and I don't want to just go to New York and just walk around. I want to go to a play. I want to go to a restaurant. I want to do things that are meaningful to me. And so I make those sacrifices. Talking about Gen Z, one of the things I thought was really interesting when you talk about them not spending a lot is my son came to me, he's like, well, we're going to go thrifting today. And I was like, what is thrifting? What is this? Why is this a verb? I don't know what this is. And he's like, it's when you go like to Goodwill and you just find stuff. You can find stuff that other people have like donated and you can get it at a really good price. And I was like, the Goodwill, we've been doing that forever. Like, this isn't a new thing, Gen Z, but he has made this into like his entire friend group. They make an experience out of it. Like, we're going thrifting. And I'm like, why is this a verb? And you didn't invent it, nor did you invent New Edition. So stop.
Well, you know, they're your babies, those Gen Z. I told you they were soft and problematic.
They're not soft. They make good decisions. It's actually really good to do this thrifting when you think about all of the clothes that people, not me, other people, buy, and then they end up in oceans in Africa somewhere. I'm making up stuff.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that, from a cultural standpoint, one, Black folk, on one extreme, you individuals who are hyper consumption focused. And I think about the stories of the athletes who just go out and buy random shit because they can't afford it. Individuals who will go to a dealership, see a car they like, buy a car, drive it, park it in a parking lot someplace, and leave it there for five hours.
Marcus can find it.
Maybe Marcus, all you need to do is start following some of these athletes and entertainers who buy these cars and just leave them.
Never heard of this before.
But
and I would like for that person to call me. My number is...
And then on the other end, you'd have individuals who are struggling day to day to be able to provide food for their kiddos or things for their kiddos. And so when you think about Black Friday, and you think about the mindset of, if I'm a single parent or if I'm in a household where I look at this as I'm getting this television that is normally $1,000. I have the opportunity to stand in line for 12 hours and get it for $500. I said this to you the other day. I get it. I understand if you believe that. Saving that $500 then goes towards something else. I'm just not built that way to go and stand in line for 12 hours to get $500.
You don't stand in line to donate. Like, you don't stand in line for anything. I am a stand in liner person. I was standing in line for a day for a donut. Especially if it's food, I'm standing in this line. You don't do that. You're also the type of person, I mean, you've taught me this, I've learned this from you, but I will drive around. I'm like, gas is 20 cents higher, I'm driving over here. You won't do that. You don't do that.
It's just funny. I was having that conversation this weekend, and we stopped to get gas, and he said gas here is like $2.40. I think it's $2.40 in South Carolina. He said, how much is it in Georgia? I said, I don't know. No,
you are such a
gas.
Do have an
it costs what it costs.
I know. And so I have a girlfriend, my bestie, she's exactly like you. Like, she's like, why do I care? And I am so, like I told you, it takes me forever to make a decision over things because I'm doing a cost benefit analysis. Oh, okay, so let me go on this site. Let me see if I can find a coupon. And when I do find the coupon for free shipping and I find 20% off, gives me this sense of like euphoria. Like, I just love the entire process where you're just like, this is a waste of time. I don't care if it's $10 more. My time is valuable and I don't care. I'm not standing in line for $500 or $5,000. Here's your money. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm not, look, if it's 30 cents more. Look, I get if we're talking about a block or 2 blocks. Yeah, and if it's 30 cents less per gallon, yeah, okay. But I'm not going to drive around the city looking for the cheapest gas. No.
You can just use an app for that. My thing is, like, how dare you sell the...
Find out whether or not there's cheap
Because
gas.
it's ridiculous. Why do you think that you have the right to sell this gas for 30 cents more? It's the same gas. How dare you? I'm going over here.
I will say this. I'm contradicting myself on this. I think I shared this with you. There's a new Dunkin' Donuts that just opened.
If I hear about a Dunkin' Donut one more damn time,
Hold on.
that and QT, I can't take it.
You know, QT, we need a QT sponsorship.
Do you have stock in either one of them? You love them like I love Costco.
So hold on. Oh, speaking of which, I went to Sam's. I got to share that story.
I don't do Sam's. I do Costco.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't do Sam's, but you do Walmart. So it's the same thing.
I don't. John, move on about your story about Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, hold on. So there's a Dunkin' Donuts that's just opened up a mile from my house, right? There's the other one that I used to go to, which is about 4 miles from my house, but it's closer. When I leave the gym, I would go to the Dunkin' Donuts to get my coffee. 2 cups of coffee, sugar, black, give me a cinnamon raisin bagel, lightly toasted.
After you leave the gym.
Less bread. Yes. Okay, so that's my breakfast. Okay?
That's
And so the coffee I will drink throughout the day. Dunkin' Donuts, I would dial on the hill. Dunkin' Donuts has the best coffee. The bagel, I have to work with them to get the bagel right. Okay, because it has to be lightly toasted, less bread, which is Dunkin' Donuts language.
John, let me interrupt you because I want to give a shout out to one of our commenters that said that you act like a white lady that's Hollywood adjacent. I don't think he acts like it. I think he is one. What are you talking about?
So, look, the 2 small coffees with a cinnamon raisin bagel at my former Dunkin' Donuts was $9.45, right? New Dunkin' Donuts I go to, same thing, get the same thing. It's $8.34. I'm like, what the fuck?
John's mute button doesn't work right now, but I want to laugh so hard. This is remarkable. But you won't stand in line to save $500 because your bagel is 75 cents less. You're getting ready to write a strongly worded letter to someone.
It's or less.
Oh.
And I don't understand how it is that they could be literally 3 miles away and one is charging $8.35 for the same items as the other one is charging. Well, I think I just proved your theory with respect to the gas. But that said, Dunkin' Donuts do better. Now, back on the Sam's Walmart thing, because I did do a little shopping this weekend. So I went with my dad to Walmart, and it was interesting to go into this Walmart because I don't go into Walmart or Costco, and just see these items that were there, and they had pretty much a lot of stuff. They had Christmas toys, watches, they phones, computers, they had food, and they had clothing. And I'm like,
that has been going on for decades, sir. This is not. Have you ever heard of Target? They do the same thing.
Okay, so we go in, and I tell my dad, you get whatever you want.
Look at you, big spender, so generous. Get whatever you want that's under $10.
Apparently, I should not have said that. I didn't know you have to box your own stuff. You have to put your stuff in boxes. They don't have bags. They have like the throwaway boxes.
We spend the last 10 minutes laughing about the hypocrisy of driving past cheap gas to go spend $8 on a bagel. Beneath the jokes about financial fast and Dunkin' Donuts, there's serious tension that we have to navigate, especially in our community. The point is not whether you save 30 cents on gas. The point is about agency versus appearance. Lynn's financial diet isn't about deprivation. It's about control. She strips away the spending to remind herself that she doesn't need things to be whole. That is true power. On the flip side, the soft life isn't just about luxury goods or expensive trips. It's about autonomy to decide that your peace and your time are more valuable than the grind. Here's the danger though. Social media has convinced too many of us that the soft life is something you buy rather than a state of mind. If you're financing a soft life aesthetic with a credit card, you aren't living softly. You're living precariously. You're one emergency away from that cardboard box Lynn talks about. So the takeaway is this. You have to lock in, like Gen Z says, so that your softness is sustainable. Don't let the internet rush you into a lifestyle you haven't yet earned. Save your money, buy your time back, and then enjoy the bagel. But make sure you actually own the piece you're showing off. And that's the point. While you're out and about this week, make the time to do something nice for yourself. And while you're at it, take the time to do something nice for someone else. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening and spending your time with us on I Take Your Point. For more unfiltered conversations like this, click the link in the description. Huge thank you to our production team. We couldn't do this without you. Quick disclaimer, the views shared are those of the host and guests and are for informational purposes only, not professional advice. Keep building your own table, take care, and be well.